Hello, everyone. Welcome to Metis again. Today is a Tuesday, and we're doing our live stream. Today, live stream is Metis Whitepaper for rookies, so we're going to be doing some reading. Here, if with me, all my team here, and I am Elena Snelnikov. I'm a CEO of Metis, and we're going to be reading the white paper today. So let me share my screen. I also prepared some of the slides so you would follow a little bit, because still our white paper is a technical document, and none of us here are techies. Well, I am a little bit, but not to the extent that I can develop. We have the whole development team that is doing that. We have our CTO as well. But today we're going to be talking in the simple terms. If I'm not clear or not as simple as you think, please throw your question in the chat. And our Telegram chat is t.me/metisdao. You know it all if you are here with us, and we actually reward if you ask the question. So go ahead, ask, and anything that is not clear, we're going to answer those questions at the end of the live stream. Right now, we just remind you what Metis is, and the Metis name that came from the Greek Titaness, prudence and wisdom. So we are Metis, and what we do, basically, we connect people and projects on Ethereum. So that's what we do. We're building a Web3 economy. For that, we built the whole underlying technology on how to do it. And this technology is decentralized. So today, we're going to be talking a lot about that. Use cases that Metis serves to. There are quite multiple because it's a rich functionality platform. There's only a few. You can go to metis.io to check all the use cases. And you can also right now go to testswap.metis.io, that's sitting on top of our alpha test, to see the transactions cost on Metis and to see how fast the transactions are. Right now, we are in the process of delivering a public testnet, bridge, and the DAC mining and staking. And we're going to be touching on that progress a little bit towards the end of the presentation. But today is the Metis white paper. In order to find the white paper, you go to Metis website, metis.io. Here is a white paper. There are actually two of them: technical and organizational. We're going to skip organizational today. We're going to go over the technical because this is the technology that we are using, that we are building, and this is very exciting for us. And as well, this is probably not that easy to understand for the rookies. And don't take my word that you are the rookie. I know that probably majority of you are way more advanced, so I'm looking forward to your questions. So if we go to white paper, go to technical, it opens up the white paper, and of course you can read it. I hope you read it. If you didn't understand anything, then this live stream is for you. If you understood everything, so maybe you will get a little bit bored, but maybe you will learn a couple of new things as well, because I added a little bit additional information on that. And today with my team, I have Pavel and I have Kevin, who also will be helping me out answering the questions, and they can actually pitch in right during the presentation if they hear me saying something not exactly right, because again, I am a CEO and I can also, make mistakes explaining. So for us, it's very crucial that you have the most accurate information. All right, so our white paper starts from the abstract. Metis aims to revolutionize how people and businesses collaborate using blockchain technology. That's what we noticed. This is, there are lots of projects, like lots and tons of projects right now on the different chains. Majority of them is on Ethereum, surprisingly. Of course not. But they are not quite connected. They are all over the place, and how people are connected with the projects, it's mostly via Twitter or something else. And because there are, regulatory difficulties right now for blockchain projects. So lots of them are experiencing that, difficulty connecting to people. So we are bridging this gap, and that's what we're providing solution for. In order to provide a great, robust solution, of course, for Ethereum, we needed to develop our layer 2. So we looked at the technologies, the layer 2s that exist. They didn't match what we like to the framework that we're building. They were not matched. So they were not scalable enough, not decentralized enough, because this is what we are building, scalable and decentralized. And that's what it's talking about in the abstract. Right now it's talking about Ethereum. So a layer 1 solution such as Ethereum, of course, that we're building on is have that they have the gas problems, the low throughput. Low throughput, it means that more applications going to be on Ethereum. Slower transactions are, the higher the gas cost is. Ethereum it 2.0 aims to solve some of the problems, but it will not solve all of them. Still, we can experience high gas cost and low throughput. So the layer 2 solutions is pretty much way to go, but it also have to be the right layer 2 solution. So that's what we are proposing. Metis virtual machine, that's how we call our layer 2 solution. And this is must to have the component for us to actually build our tech. And that's what abstract is talking about. And major piece of the technology is the DAO architecture that is built into Metis. Which is, we also were thinking which DAO infrastructure we can derive from, and we haven't found one that is efficient in our, because they, all current DAO infrastructures are focusing on the governance and the voting. So these are the only two features usually that exist there. And this is not enough for us to connect in people and projects. So therefore we defined a new entity called Decentralized Autonomous Company, which is the what we believe future lies in decentralized autonomous management of the day-to-day operations of the project or company or organization. And that's what we base our tech on DAC, Decentralized Autonomous Company. So, but to build a DAC that allows for complex collaboration, outcomes that go beyond those of standard financial platforms, so we require layer 2 solution with the low gas fees. So this is just go hand by hand with the layer 2. So therefore, we are developing our own layer 2, and we're first addressing this 3 problems of the current, because there are current solutions that exist, I already told you, and they still have problems. So first of all is centralization. All layer 2 solutions that we have right now, and including those that are built with optimistic rollups, they are centralized. So the standard layer 2 design is very centralized. So many of them, that they have this single bottleneck of the single sequencer. Who is the sequencer? So sequencer is the, and maybe I will have to open the slide here. Let me know if you can see the slide. Let's go through the slide. So here are the problems that we faced. And by the way, I didn't tell you what optimistic rollup is. So optimistic rollup solution that we base on, and these are the ones, the closest that we're looking at, it processes transactions in the batches, therefore dividing the gas fee via all transactions, and then commit them all at once into layer 1, and therefore the gas cost will be only 1 and it's split between all the transactions. So this is what the optimistic rollup is. And of course, I talked about the advanced DAC that we are doing, connecting projects and people and doing collaboration, and we're getting into the optimistic rollup problems. So single sequencer. So who is the sequencer? Sequencer is the one that collects layer 2 transaction from the layer 2 chain, because this optimistic rollup is built on top of Ethereum, and it collects transactions. Though it is inheriting the Ethereum infrastructure and the security, it is still a layer right on top of Ethereum. So single sequencer collects the layer 2 transactions from layer 2 chain, executes them locally, and also sends transaction to layer 1 at some interval, and then publish them onto the new chain. So this is where the centralization lies, because it is one sequencer. So even though optimistic rollup is supposed to be decentralized, one sequencer make it centralized. So only one entity that checks these transactions and posts them. So, and that's what is the first problem. This is something that we wanted to go away from. So then long time to post transactions to layer 1. So in way 2, and this is what the problems that we talk in our white paper as well. So usually it takes a long time to finalize the transactions. So why is that? Because so this is done in the hopes to decentralize normal optimistic rollup. It means that after single sequencer, before it checks the transaction, before it posts to layer 1, there are window for the verifiers. Verifiers, kind of, you can think of this like kind of like a volunteer verifiers, volunteer validators that come and validate the how good job the sequencer did. And if it catches anything malicious, then verifier gets paid. So that's how. Premise is that actually the sequencer is always the source of truth, but this is the thing: the source of truth and only one. It's centralization. So the verifiers are given the window. So like you, me, we can all come and verify how good job the sequencer did, and we see that it's not a good job. So we actually can get paid for proving the sequencer wrong. So basically that's what verifiers do, and that's why the transaction withdrawal time from layer 2 to layer 1 in the standard optimistic rollup and the classic optimistic rollup takes 1 minute. That's why, for the decentralization purpose and for the validation purposes. Therefore, it leads to the third problem. Is creating a bottleneck. So of course, if there's one sequencer, it's validating all the transactions is going to be lined up into, so the one can verify them. And it's also computing and storage is in the same space too. So the bigger demand going to be, then the system will be prone to crashing, to delays, to an unavailability. We see right now the blockchain and even optimistic rollups crashing, right? So, and this is for that reason. So the bottleneck is not only prolonging the withdrawal time, but with one sequencer, but it's also creating a bottleneck for the transactions and the low performance as well. And that's what we're going to see more and more projects, the optimistic rollups and other rollups start onboarding. So this is that's what this part of the problem, this part we're talking about in this in a white paper. All right, so to solve this issue and meet the rising demand for DAC operations, so DAC again, decentralized autonomous company, Metis designed and implemented new layer 2 solution with EVM compatible virtual machine called Metis Virtual Machine, which is MVM, and this is Metis layer 2, and that's what we're talking. So we are solving this problem. So how we do that? It's in the next chapter, separate compute and storage for ultimate scalability. So in MVM, which is Metis layer 2, each decentralized autonomous company is associated with the unique layer 2 construct where all DAC collaboration occurred. So we consider DAC as a one, entity that hardly can crisscross with anything else. So we are thinking, okay, so for each DAC, DAC can trigger the creation of new storage layer, right? So company needs a storage, right? So, and the computing part, including also block mining, so all the transactions that DAC processes it's scale up down dynamically on demand as part of the Metis system. It means that it's just going into the diagram here. So you see, this is the on the top, it has, of course, layer 1, but after that, next layer is the DACs. So once the DAC is created, a new virtual machine spin up, right? So kind of like a new computer, a new chain is created with its own storage as well. So it's scaling horizontally. That's how it called, right? So for each DC can process transaction in its own space, and once the DC created, new chain created, new chain spin up, and that's what it's talking in the next part of the of this chapter as well. So it generates new resources as the DC created, right? So and therefore, like if the DC goes away from the Metis network, so all this will be destroyed, right? So because there's no more need for the chain to process transactions. But that's what, in essence, and how Metis layer 2 is different from the others for this scalability design. So just to go and maybe have it displayed on the slide. So how we solved, yes. So of course, it's all concurs to the decentralization, multiple chain, one per DC, multiple VMs. We have also multiple sequencers, and that's what it's talking about in the paper. So MVM allows providers, which is sequencers, to sign up and continue contribute computing power to make layer 2 construct fully decentralized. It means that you and me, we can contribute the computing power. So we have resources to span additional DACs, and therefore you can actually earn from it because sequencers are getting paid for processing that transactions. But how do we trust those people, that they mean sequencers, like you and me, that was signing for Metis network and process transactions? So the essence in that, and this is the beauty of it, so they never know whose transactions they are processing. It means that you might as well process your own payout, and if you do it maliciously, you don't get it. At the same time, so there is a pool of the sequencers that created, and so each of you never know which DC transaction you process. It's actually very good explained on a diagram at the end. So here you see the sequencer pool, and that's where all the sequencers comes in one pool. So multiple, many of them that are checking transactions and posting them to layer 1. But you never know which one is processed. So therefore, the security is in the design. And also there is additional security. The bonds, we're going to be talking about it later. But so this is the scalability that is getting solved by this design. All right, so the multiple sequencers. Also, we're going to be talking in the white paper a little bit about rangers, but a little bit further. So these contribute to this decentralization big time as well. And also it's shortening the withdrawal time, the rangers. And of course, this design allows to get rid of the bottleneck. All right, so white paper. Okay, so we talked about the multi-VM, multi-chain, multi-sequencer design in this part of the white paper. I hope this is clear. If it's not clear, please ask questions. So DAC itself is also described in the white paper, and this is the base of why we're doing that, why. Let me just probably, okay, so I have a slide here that explains, yeah, so have multiple chains, scalable to demand. Oh, this is what I probably did not emphasize enough, that it's, as soon as DC created, new chain spin out, so it's scalable to demand. So we're not wasting resources, just, running multiple chains all the time, which would be the huge waste, but it's rather creating on demand. And that's actually the need for the Metis tokens, because like this whole decentralized infrastructure has to be supported by the economy itself within the system. So therefore, Metis tokens is getting used for paying for services for the sequencers, for the rangers, and the whole economy system inside the DAC, decentralized autonomous company. So that is the need for the Metis token, and that's why we have it. Okay, so DAC. So this part of the this was what so each DAC, once it's created and spin up its own chain behind the scenes, you will never see it because all you see actually one button there. So DAC can it assign a unique subdomain name. So you actually, once you create your DAC, you have your website already up and running. So in there, you can already start, posting and connecting to not even within an infrastructure to other companies and people, but it's also to the world outside as well. So therefore, let me go to the slide. Yes. So therefore, DAC, which is Decentralized Autonomous Company, has its own website, its own chain, its own VM, its own storage. And therefore, it's also, in a sense, solving the security problem for one DAC, right? Because if the DAC is on its own chain and it has its own storage, it is the own protected environment there, right? So, and therefore the additional security for the DAC. And yes, and that's what DAC charter is talking about the DAC. So the DAC is actually the entity, and as an entity, of course, it will have it's their vision. It can also have their admins, so management contract. It can have their permissions as well, and also it can actually impose a tax rate. So like it's kind of like a way to collect maybe the payments from members of this decentralized company, so manage the users. So therefore, all this, not only its own website, also admin accounts. It's allowed and allow users, ban users, set rules, permissions, set taxes or rewards. Same process. Users with the different roles as well, storing of the confidential data, and that's what we're going to be talking in the white paper. And also different microservices that can be hooked into DAC. You can, for example, create your DApp without coding. If you don't know how to code, there will be a button to create certain dApps, and you can create without even coding on a blockchain. And therefore you can manage everything in one entity on your own website and not worried about, a security, gas fees, anything like that. So that's the idea. And what is the further, yes, so this is DAC charter. It just outlines this entity with its own vision, permissions, tax rate, management. And the charter will be created right when the DAC is created. And initial settings will be finalized in the first block after the genesis of the DAC creation process. And management contract will be the only signer can modify the charter afterwards. So within this kind of decentralized world, this is actually the piece of the centralization in a company. And whoever of you would like to create this company, you will be fully, you can set up it the way that you can rule it, right? So this company, it can be ruled by you. So we provide all that. So MVM layer 2 permissions management. Of course, we have an optional permission system, right? So, and therefore you can actually give the permissions to your DAC participants. They can allow submit transactions. They can allow deploy smart contracts. For example, your users can do their own dApps. They can deploy their own dApps within your DSC, so your DSC can have actually people dApps in it. So you can build your own economy system, and that's what we are planning for doing as well. But you can also, ban certain members as well. So you can implement as much decentralization as you need. For example, you still provide, the voting, and so this mechanism that DAOs, the current classic DAOs do, but it's all up to the DSC creator on how to set it, how to configure. If someone from your DSC doesn't like it, they can always quit and join the other DSC. So, but we give this kind of infrastructure to manage your own entity, to manage your own company. And again, the permission layer is totally optional. So we provide it, it's up to you, use it or not. So again, confidential data files also can be stored and shared or not shared outside the DSC. And this is exactly what we're talking about in the storage layer on IPFS to manage the confidential data. This is the confidential data storage for the DSC, inside of the DSC. So if you would like to use it, it's there as well. Yes, so IPFS is the distributed file system. Right, so and there are a few important considerations that you need to understand. So the IPFS cluster is only accessible on the layer 2. So if you would like to kind of commit your files to layer 1, don't even think about it, because it costs you millions. You cannot store data on Ethereum, period. So nobody stores data on Ethereum. Ethereum, even though it's kind of like a database for the transactions, this is not a database for the data. Store one image, as I said, as I was saying in previous live streams, it costs $1 million for one image. Not worth it. So IPFS transactions are not rolled to layer 1. Otherwise, it will be useless, but you can still, for your own DSC, it's going to be on blockchain, but you can store the data via our IPFS. So that's what we're building. All right, so now going back to the withdrawal time reduction, and that's a significant reduction of the fraud proofing window. If I go back to the slide, so there's a long time to post withdraw to layer 1. So this chapter is related to this one. So what and how other optimistic rollups, how they do it. So of course they have only one sequencer that posts transactions, but then verifiers have 1 week to prove them wrong. And that's why it's taken a week. So what Metis is proposing instead, and it's then contributed to the security and decentralization at the same time. So to have MVM rangers, so rangers, that's how we call them. So these are the kind of validators that check up on the sequencers. So if the sequencers did a good job or not, if all the transaction checks up, but they're not only checking up on sequencers, they're checking up on each other as well. And these are the ones that we also have Metis tokens for. Because they get compensated in the Metis tokens, so they will stake for the purpose of validating transactions, and they get rewarded as well. So any malicious transactions are going to be caught by the rangers. And that is what we're talking about, and this brings, in addition to sequencer pool, it brings also the rangers to verify. So therefore, it's tightening a security and at the same time creating a decentralized platform, decentralized economy. Instead of one sequencer, pool of sequencers that are decentralized, that we are not kind of betting who is going to be the one. And rangers, they also, like Metis has nothing to do with identifying who are these validators are. They all economically incentivized. They all economically responsible as well, because they need to stake in the Metis tokens in order to actually start processing transactions. I have to maybe also emphasize like why we're so big on the decentralization. Decentralization goes hand in hand with a security, because if you if this is like, let's say, like chain, right? So we have like lots of right now the commit chains, the side chains, the other chains. If they are centralized, it means that, let's say, there is like executive team in the company, or 6 holders of the wallet keys are there. It means that it only takes, somebody had to be held at the gunpoint, or their family had to be held at the gunpoint to give out all the keys, and therefore, poof, all the money is going to be, gone, right? So when you have a decentralized with, random validators, with the random sequencers that are not part of, company or family, or even part of like the country, so we don't even know where they are. So that brings in, security and safety for the funds as well, and for the network. So we, like Metis, building this platform as to be completely decentralized and live the life on its own without Metis involvement, and that's what we are for here. All right, so where we are, the white paper. So we went through the rangers. Okay, bonds, sequencers. So coming back a little bit to the sequencers, and so the sequencers will be only allowed to process transactions that are corresponding, like lower than their stake. Right, so they have to stake. Let's say that if they process in a transaction of $1 million and they only staked, $10, of course, they will not be allowed by the system to actually validate this transaction, to post this transaction. So their stake have to be in at least the same as the transaction they're posting, because if they are wrong, if they posted wrong one, that's how they will be penalized, and their reward will gonna go to somewhere else, to some other validator, to rangers, for example. So this is what this chapter is talking about. Again, this is all for the security of the system, and I think that is explaining it. And this is the big final diagram of how Metis layer 2 transaction posting and validating will look like, and processing as well. So in the multiple chains, in the sequencer pools, sequencers can actually join dynamically. Rangers also join dynamically. Both of them need to stake, and sequencers are posting transactions. Rangers are verifying those transactions. Next chapter is about microservice and network. Let me go a little bit back and see if I missed anything. Okay, so virtual, good. Sequencers, so I explained those. DAC, I explained it. Oh yeah, okay, so DAC, of course, create project devs, managing project, managing user, hire employees, managing work tasks, report and performance, ownership, and of course, voting. We have that available too. Okay. So microservices. Okay, so yeah, we are right on the microservices. So microservices. So the idea, and that's what this chapter is talking about, and we support the basic principle of the microservices network. Providers such Oracle, deliver service, legal, can register microservice provider in MVM ecosystem. And that's what we do right now with the service providers, for example, right now with the Chainlink. In order for you to create, DAC, which is going to be using the real world data. So in order not to program it, so this service is going to be already provided. for you to use in there, and therefore you can actually plug in, plug out this service. So there will be we're planning many of them, and some of them are can be free, some of them can be paid. So right now, this is right now still in the research, and it's going to be very dynamic, this chapter, what microservices will provide. But so the basic understanding that microservices can be plugged in, plugged out, and again, it can be done with the click of the button on the DSC. They're going to provide a rich functionality, customization, and also they are there for the performance, because if you don't need some, you can just plug them off. So therefore, your transactions will not be as heavy. So this what microservices is, and that's what this chapter is talking about. And as it says, it's stated here, it's infinite expansion. It means that, of course, the services can be infinite. So new ones invented, we add them. Or you can add them in a decentralized way as well. And maybe you can provide a service to a different DCs, to different projects in our ecosystem. And that's how we connect people and projects as well. It's kind of like a big giant constructor. So we can just plug in, plug out your modules. And we came to the summary. So with the sequencers, block producers, IPFS cluster provider, service provider, and rangers, and we have solved the most pressing issue with many popular layer 2 solutions and build a system that both highly efficient and very well decentralized. So powered by MVM, Metis creates an ecosystem to build a truly decentralized economy based on layer 2. We believe this is the future organization, communities, and economy. And from what we see, this is where the blockchain world at least go into, with all this, NFTs, the communities, and we are supporting this infrastructure. So the final diagram on the white paper looks like this. Sequencer pool, rangers, services, and IPFS, and a commitment to the layer 2 mainnet. All right, so I think we, at the end, yes, this is the end of the white paper. So but this is not the end of the slides. So I built the slides, so let's go through them. Yes, again, security, multiple rangers, low cost of security, and also, of course, Metis is inheriting a layer 2.1 Ethereum security as well. We asked a lot of questions about comparisons, and it's hard to compare apples and oranges, first of all, but some people think that we are just a layer 2 project. We are not. We are the economy. We are connecting projects and people. So we are not just a layer 2. We happen to build our own layer 2 because there were not layer 2s that actually supports that currently, that we could use. Otherwise, we would, of course, use it. But just, for the sake of it, comparing the optimistic rollups, optimism and arbitrum. So here's the comparison. You can see it. So of course we have, because we have a pool of sequencers, and also we have then rangers, so our validation time going into the hours. We have a permission layer for the DECs, and we have a storage integrations for the DEC as well. Storage nobody provides because storage is too expensive. In terms of the scalability, again, Optimism Arbitrum, only one sequencer, one virtual machine, one chain, no IPFS storage, no rangers. For security, Metis Optimism Arbitrum inherit from the decentralized Ethereum, of course. Both have verifiers, but Optimism Arbitrum only have one sequencer and have no rangers. So the same thing. And we also sometimes compare it to Polygon. So Polygon is not a layer 2 event solution. Polygon is a commit chain. This is side chain. So it's just completely kind of different blockchain with its own rules, with its own validator, with its own consensus. And Therefore, it's not inheriting Ethereum security at all. So they are at their own sake. I'm not even going to go into the centralized nature of it. So then, yes, so the main thing is not inheriting the Ethereum security. And of course, we catering very much for the usability. Usability is our big thing. So we are right now, and that's where we're working on to be 100% compatible with EVM project that started building right now. So we want to be as compatible as, for example, Optimism and Arbitrum and Ethereum. So the project can deploy on us 100% without any changes. And all the managed access permissions, we already talked about it. Decentralized file storage, we talked about it. Our reputation tracking system, of course, DEC has the reputation tracking system, which you can use actually to sign up for the new DEC or something like that if you need to expose that. Middleware, yes, so this is the easy deployment, and this is something that we're building for to lower the barrier for the projects that don't have blockchain developers on, and smart contract templates for the same thing, and microservices integration we talked about. All right, so NFTs. Yeah, we are right now, yes. So we today we published the article, and actually within a few minutes, I think Vitalik responded as well on this article, the NFTs on how to do the NFT on Metis layer 2. So low maintenance cost, fast speed transaction, decentralized and permanent storage, easy to create and manage NFTs, and EVM compatibility as well. And right now we are looking at the, the possibility to do it cross-chain, cross layers, cross-chain, easy withdrawals. So all this is in the works as well. So we're working on that. And also, because we are not very far from our public testnet, bridge and DEC staking that we already talked about in the previous live streams and in our chats. So right now we're in the progress of the security audits. I have to tell you that there are long lineups right now for the security audits, and this is major kind of impact on our side, but we need to do that. We need to do it. We need to do it with external providers, so we need to wait in line. Load testing. This is something that we're also taking it seriously because we are scalable. And while we're doing this load testing, we find, additional. So we're right now adding actually additional peer data nodes for the load balancing, for the network scalability. Just to show you in a diagram, for example, for this one chain, just to anticipate if there is one like big number of transactions for one DEC or something like that. So this is something we add into the design, extra scalability, even for one chain, for one DEC, it can have also, it can also scale. And that's what our dev team is working on right now. And of course, you know that Metis Hackathon has $1 million in prizes. We're going to be having our kick off the meeting on October 2nd. So apply at hackathon.metis.io. And because we have lots of applications right now for the hackers, we extended our timeline to November 30th. It means that you will be able to submit to work with us from October 2nd to November 30th on your project to build on Metis, because of course we have budgeted this much in prizes, and we would like you to get it all. And so therefore, please register. We're going to be start working on October 2nd. And Metis Ecosystem Development Program still going on. We're still onboarding. We still have lots, and we actually have bounties for people who can refer us the project. So if you just have a project in mind that you can introduce us to, you can also go to metis.io/grants and do the join now. Or if you have your own project, please apply. What we provide you right away is $10,000 in Metis tokens. This is for the projects, but the bounties are different. So bounties, if you're interested in bounties, it's all been listed in our Telegram chat. Go check there. We also provide the builder mining. It means that we set aside tokens for building a community. So therefore, projects who are first building on Metis, so they can actually earn Metis tokens from every transactions they make on Metis. And this is something that we are very proud of. Nobody else is providing this capability. And of course, technical support, Launchpad. We have our own partner Launchpad. Marketing, we are in 3 languages, Russian, English, and Chinese. And we have, of course, VCs. Our VCs are excellent, and they are investing. So if you need investments, this is possible as well. So go ahead, apply or refer. And again, for the grants, for the hackathon. And now we're going to the questions. Do we have questions? Oh, I have lots of questions already. So I'm going to bring probably Pavel and Kevin into here. Yes. Okay. Yes. Hello. All right. So let's go ahead with the questions. So Leah is here too. So Leah, if you need to pitch in, please feel free as well. So Pavel, Kevin, start answering the questions.
Okay. First one, I saw a lot of questions regarding the token economics. I would say we are finding ways to disclose more information to make it, compliant, but also to satisfy the requirements from our community. So we are working on it. Hope to release more information.
So the premise with the tokens, I'm just going to explain, you're going to be very upfront, right? So we are technology project, so we are not DeFi project, we're not raising money, we're not, so this is like Metis token is very secondary, this is the driver of our economy. But by any means, we are, we're not talking about token whatsoever. And this is this is why, and that's what Kevin said.
So there was a question related to the sequencer being temporarily or permanently unavailable. So this solution is within Metis. We are having a pool of sequencers. So in case one sequencer goes down in the network, another will be able to take its place and submit those transactions to layer 1 and be able to verify everything. So it's inside the architecture where you have a pool of sequencers if one sequencer does go down.
Very good question, because it happens to the other layer 2s, and we anticipated that happened when we were building this structure. Building architecture is very important from the very beginning. Changing architecture down the road is really hard, so that's why we're taking time to build the proper tech.
I see a question here that says, it seems that Metis team is recruiting as many projects as possible to develop on the Metis ecosystem. Is team concerned that reputation of these projects could affect the reputation of Metis? And yes, we are in the process of recruiting, but we are very selective. We are a platform and we want the best projects to deploy on us. So that's why there's an application form. And when you submit your project, you are subject to reviews and meetings and technical potential integration analysis. So you as a user and as the public can be sure that we only want the good projects to run on our platform through the ecosystem program.
There's one question regarding the Metis can work with other layer 1 blockchain in addition to Ethereum. Yeah, actually, we are designed to be cross-chain. And if you explore more in our policy, which is our middleware, you will find it can support multi-chain or naturally. But for now, we are sitting in this largest ecosystem, which is Ethereum, and we are hoping to solve the most painful issues here, which is the cost, efficiency, and also scalability. So that's what we are now.
As you just explained that Metis have its own storage, but how will this actually help gives an edge to Metis? So for example, as a developer, when I first started developing my own dApp, I got into the problem that I cannot actually store files on Ethereum. And this was the major one for me. So I had to build my own, storage. I have to store files in a SQL server, right? So, and this is additional security, or I have to store files somewhere in the cloud. So this is additional security that I have to build around the whole infrastructure. So imagine, and I was just trying it out. Imagine for the enterprise level project to do it, it's going to cost tons of money to do that infrastructure, and even for the startups as well, tons of money. So therefore, we're helping blockchain startups. We're helping people who just starting building on Ethereum to solve that problem by providing the storage.
So there's a question about ETH 2.0. So just to emphasize that ETH 2.0 is upgrades on the Ethereum layer 1. So that we work with Ethereum. So any upgrades that are done with Ethereum will also impact Metis as well. In this case, Ethereum 2.0 will greatly enhance the speed of the amount of transactions that you can process. So using the sharding capabilities. So Metis will leverage that sharding capabilities, and it's estimated by Vitalik himself that transactions can go up to around 100,000 transactions per second. Of course, these are optimistic numbers, but it's estimated once ETH 2.0 will come out that it'll greatly enhance the speed of the transactions on every layer 2.
Have the audit results been received by the team? Actually, we have received the first version, and there are some minor changes which the dev team had already edited and sent back to the audit team. So we're waiting for the final report. And can you explain the utility in the DAC? What kind of player will be able to run the DAC? I think Elena has, involved a lot in this part. For Metis, I think DAC is what is defined as a basic unit when you, conduct business or collaborations on the blockchain. So it's just like you have your physical companies in the physical world, and you will have a similar organization on the blockchain, which can help you to collaborate with each other to manage different kind of usabilities and users, etc. So we think DAC would be the basic unit for the Web3 economy. And actually, any projects, communities, and even individuals can create and run your own DAC, which you will be able to see and try on our public testnet when we launch the DAC staking and mining. So please stay tuned. Yeah.
Okay, so the next question. The only reason I know why layer 2 projects are happening is low gas fees. This is the only problem should solve in Ethereum. Sometimes gas fees are getting very much lower this time. How Metis will different to promote this project? Well, basically the whole presentation was towards, of course, so this is, these are the difficulties of building on Ethereum: high gas costs, slow transfer speeds, difficulty in storing files, painful to scale. centralization security risks as well for this some sidechain solutions. So this is the difficulties. Plus, what Metis does, we connect projects and people. So this is not only about the low gas fees. Thank you for the question. I think I already answered why Metis is different from other popular layer 2 ecosystems like Polygon and Arbitrum. Polygon is not a layer 2. Arbitrum is a layer 2, and we already had a comparison chart. I think there, and there. Okay.
There is a question related to NFTs have very high gas fees. Is it possible to buy NFTs with Metis layer 2 with low gas fees? Absolutely. And that was actually the whole theme of the previous presentation that we had last week, related to how you will be able to mint NFTs directly on Metis and then redeem them on layer 1 and have that bridge and have it seamlessly bridge over from one layer to the other. So we're focusing directly on that interoperability between layer 2 and layer 1, and absolutely you'll be able to mint your NFTs very cheaply directly on Metis layer 2.
Yeah, I saw a question about the projects, like the good projects that have been developed. So we are making an announcement, and actually today we talked a very, very great project, successful NFT project that is also going on Metis. So just stay tuned. And we have 3 minutes left. So any last question that you would like to answer? Are you planning to add BTC support using sidechains in the future, or the Metis will be ETH blockchain only? And I think Kevin answered that question. Yes, we have that in mind, but right now we need to be successful here in Ethereum, and then we can expand to the other chains. All right, so please subscribe and stay tuned. And of course, apply for our grant and for our hackathon. And we're going to see you in our next live stream and also in our Telegram chat. Telegram chat, t.me/metis.io. We also have Metis DAO. So we also have a Twitter, Metis DAO, and you can follow us and check all our news. And I would like to thank my team in the first place for supporting me in that presentation. I would like to thank our development team that created this white paper that I was explaining today. And I would like to thank all of you guys that attended today, that listened, that asked the questions. So any questions you ask, we will answer them. So please keep posting them in the Telegram chat. And of course, the best ones will be rewarded as usual. So thank you very much. My name is Elena Sinelnikova, and my Metis team is with me. Thank